So
let's switch over to LeBron James now. Ryan, I want you to check this out. Cavs need to win Game 4. LeBron's going to join a list that he'd prefer not to be on, even though the company is elite. According to the Elias Sports Bureau, with the loss tonight, James will join Wes Unseld, Magic Johnson, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the only former MVPs to be swept twice in the NBA Finals. Now, LeBron has his many detractors. I think that we would all agree that had Draymond Green not been suspended last year for Game 5, the Warriors probably win the title last year as well. So if LeBron is swept tonight, what will this do to the LeBron legacy haters if he were to get swept tonight?
Well, those guys will be fired up, right? I mean, I'm not going to change. Like, think about this. Think how stupid this is. If he wins Game 4 and then they lose in 5, that really changes anything?
No.
Does that really change anything? In 2 years, will we ever go, you know, LeBron is a little bit better than I thought because he didn't get swept, but he lost in Game 5 in 2017. So it's only added ammunition. I would say at this point kind of misguided, because if you're going to hold 2007 against him and then start building this resume, like, oh, he's a great MVP, but the guy got swept twice. He had no business with that roster 10 years ago to even be in the finals against the Spurs with that Cavs team. Like, we should acknowledge the fact that he even got it to that point. So if we're looking at Golden State saying this is borderline unfair, I mean, how many times do we actually say that in pro sports where we go, this is unfair? Like, we want to tell on the Warriors. So we have to factor that into what LeBron is facing here. And yeah, if they get swept, I know people will put that and say, oh, it happened to him twice. But is that really the most accurate depiction of who LeBron is as a player? I don't think it is.
I don't understand how you can have it both ways, right? Like, when Kevin Durant decided to sign with the Warriors, all the critics said was, oh, this is such a layup. They're supposed to win. They're supposed to win. So the fact that this is playing out exactly as the critics thought that it would, how can that be an indictment on LeBron James?
I don't really get it. I think all we do in life, and it's not even relegated to sports here, is that when we have a position, we just pick and we'll add things. We'll add things that aren't even good points to be made to go, oh, you know, you got swept twice. But I'll have an anti-LeBron friend that'll go, oh, you got swept twice.
Here's what it is with LeBron, though, with the anti-LeBron. He leaves his hometown team to go ring chase with Miami and doesn't. So people think that he went to a super team to get the rings, and he comes home.
But now that's an approved super team.
But it's an approved super team.
We didn't like it then.
But then they put an asterisk by last year because of Draymond Green.
Okay, but that's the kind of person that's already made a decision. That person has already decided who they are and what they're going to see when they see LeBron.
Sure.
So what's the point of even talking to that person? Like, if you can't go like, well, hey, here's a couple different factors. Like, if anybody uses the 07 finals against LeBron, then you just don't get it. Like, we can't be friends. Like, we're just not.
What about when they lost to the Mavs?
When they lost to the Mavs, it's brutal, right? I mean, look, you would be right. That would be a good point to make. That would be anti-LeBron. But this one, if we truly are witnessing what we think we're witnessing with this Golden State Warriors team and how perfect the Cavs have to be to beat them, and here's the thing, if a shot goes one way or other, like if Durant has a miss, Korver has a make, then he's not swept. Like, when you're talking big picture, 15-plus years in the league, however this goes down, him being without a doubt a top 5 player, maybe number 2, in the debate with Jordan, all these different things, one game, staying alive for one more game in one single NBA Finals season should not be a determining factor of who you've been for almost a decade plus.
Correct.
So what we've learned is LeBron's legacy doesn't come down to tonight's game.
I would think not.
That's what you get out of Ryan Russillo. Also,
so the obvious thing is to say this Warriors team looks like a lot different team than they were a year ago in the finals. I mean, and they are. Obviously, adding Kevin Durant helps. But Steph Curry has stepped up as well. Compared to last year's finals, Curry averaging 6 more points per game and nearly doubling his output on rebounds and assists as we bring in Ryan Russillo, host of the Ryan Russillo Show, ESPN Radio. There was always, when it came to Steph Curry's perception, it was, yeah, one of the most prolific shooters ever in the game and a 2-time MVP. But he disappears in the finals. How do you think that the perception of him has changed based on what you've seen so far this year?
Well, I think it was a little overstated how poorly he had performed in the finals before, because Game 7 last year was bad. It was really bad by his standards. So you would think, based on the numbers that we have, the perception's changed, but I don't know that anybody's going to be able to do it. Like, I don't know if we'll have time for acknowledging the greatness of Durant and then going, you know who also is awesome is Curry, who in these playoffs, career high in shooting for 3 points, steals, rebounds. He right now, his finals career average puts him in the top 10 if he keeps this up. All-time NBA history.
That seems crazy.
Right, and I think people go, wait a minute, what are you kidding me? Right now in the finals, he's averaging over 28 a game. He's hitting 49% of his threes. So it'd be great if people went, you know what? Maybe he doesn't just disappear in the finals. The numbers would tell you he did the complete opposite. it, he'll just be overshadowed by Durant.
But he's so good in the regular season, though, and perhaps people aren't paying attention to what the Warriors are doing in the regular season because it's such a long season. Maybe the microscope, just because everyone's watching the Warriors now, unfairly treats Steph because we see these numbers all year, and then in the finals, if he struggles, people freak out.
I almost am surprised whenever he misses. So whenever he has a stretch where it's below 40% in a game, shooting from three, you're thinking, well, like, what's going on here? But now he's hitting basically half of his three-point attempts, 10 per game here. So I don't know. I don't know if it'll change dramatically. But if you're saying this guy disappears in the finals, I don't know that you were right before, and you're certainly wrong now.
If he gets a second ring, you know who's not going to care? Steph Curry.
Yeah,
right.
I would think.
You made us believe. You kept us off the street, put clothes on our backs, food on the table. When you didn't eat, you made sure we ate. You went to sleep hungry. You sacrificed for us. You the real MVP.
I mean, who can forget that emotional moment during KD's 2014 MVP speech, showing love to his mom, Wanda? For more on the real MVP, let's bring in Jay Harris, who's live from Cleveland this morning. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Al. I've got some beautiful views of Cleveland this morning from the Skylight Financial Penthouse. That's the cue. Defend the land ahead of Game 4 tonight. You know, everyone talks about the special relationship between a young man and his mom. Kevin and Wanda Durant epitomize that relationship. And as you might imagine what Mama Durant was thinking the other night when her son, Kevin, rose up and hit that big three at the end of Game 3. Actually, we really don't have to imagine what she was saying. Listen to this. Mama Durant and Mama Curry sharing a moment, talking about their boys in the back hallway of Quicken Loans Arena after the game. Sam Aliford joins me now. You spent the day with Wanda Durant yesterday.
That's right. Even during the NBA Finals, Jay, road trips lead to a lot of downtime for players and family alike. And I'm willing to bet nobody had more fun yesterday than Wanda Durant, the real MVP, also known as Kevin's mom, with her son on the precipice of realizing his professional dreams. Wanda Durant knocked out a bucket list item of her own. It's the finals, and it's an off day for players and family, and we're at the Rock.
Exactly. I mean, I think this is a bucket list place, you know, so we had to, since I was so close, I had to come in and see what's going on and take my first look.
Shall we do it?
Let's go.
All right.
You know, just being in here, it just, I don't know, it's kind of bringing on some emotions for me, and I'm trying to figure out, but when I'm thinking about it, it's like, to be in the Hall of Fame, you have to be really great at what it is that you do. And I kind of correlate that with my son, and I can see how hard he works. So I'm just kind of reflecting on.
You know what it takes to get in these cases, don't you?
That's why it's so emotional, because I know what he's done. I know how hard he works. When no one is looking, he works. When they beat him down, he keeps working. And so the possibility of having his memorabilia in a place similar to this, I mean, it's just so emotional for me right now.
Durant for three. It's good. Kevin Durant from downtown.
Take me back to Game 3. Pull up 3, dagger in the closing moments. What are you feeling?
I heard the swoosh, and I was kind of stuck. It kind of immobilized me in a sense. It was like, did he just do that? I mean,
We all did.
And at that point, I realized it's over. This game, they won. When I thought about it, I'm like, wow, he's here. He's really here. And it was all worth it for him to get to this point, to see him play with such freedom. It's like he had, like, the sky's the beginning for his play. And I've always said to him throughout his career that I felt that it was time for him to turn a corner. And I hadn't seen that. And so he would say to me, Mom, I have it. And I was like, well, I don't know what you're doing with it because I don't see it. And so no matter how great or how good you know, they thought he was as fans, the commentators, and I always knew that he could be better.
He made an unpopular decision, but he's on the precipice of accomplishing what he set out to do.
Right.
He's one game away from winning that NBA title. What does that mean to him? What will that mean to him?
The championship wasn't the goal for him. He just wanted to play with the freedom of being Kevin Durant on the court. That's what it was about. And because I have this term that I say, either you're going to chase your dream or you're going to chase the bubble. And Kevin chased the dream of being a great basketball player. And a part of that is the championship. And so the bubble is going to come if you never lose sight of the dream.
What's the one thing you wish for Kevin above all else?
Happiness and the joy of being Kevin Durant. That's what I want for him. Everything else will come.
Wanda Durant is luminous. She glows from within, and she's a lot of fun. And while she didn't make any predictions about tonight, Jay, she did make a promise.
Really?
If they pull out the brooms, the Durants are bringing the party to Cleveland. And Wanda, if you're watching, you have my number. Call me for that party. and if you give me a +1, Jay, that +1 is up for grabs.
Wait, no. Up for grabs.
I might need a down payment is what I'm saying. We got to be fair, dude. There's a lot of people here. You know what I'm saying?
My wallet's over there.
Well, then
just go take what you need.
We can talk about it.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay.
You know what? In 13 days, Lonzo Ball finds out if a prophecy 19 years in the making will be fulfilled. The Chino Hills native, who grew up about 50 miles from the Staples Center, has made it very clear to anyone who would listen that it is purple and gold above all. But with the polarizing albatross of his pops and his brand reportedly leaving the Lakers front office at odds, Jeff Goodman sat down with Ball to discuss one particular encounter with Lakers management.
How badly do you want to be drafted by the Lakers?
Really badly. If I had a preference, you know, that would be a blessing to go there just because it's, you know, LA. I always play for my hometown, and, you know, something just playing for the West Coast, it just kind of, you know, sticks with me, and I have a lot of pride in that.
How well do you think you and LiAngelo Russell can play in the backcourt?
I think we play pretty well. If you saw like the last 20 games, he was actually doing very well. And I feel he's more of a two guard than a point guard, and I think he can complement my game just on the fact that he can score and he can shoot. So all he has to do is run the floor, I'm gonna get him the ball, he can put the ball in the basket.
When you were talking to Magic Johnson, what was that conversation like in terms of the way you guys both play?
Just talking to him, you can see that we kind of have some similarities, and he even addressed that himself, which is kind of cool because, you know, he's like the best point guard ever played. First thing he said was showtime. You know, he sees the way I play, very fast pace, you know, a lot of highlights, and he kind of plays the same way. And then he asked me, you know, how I start games, because he said he started games kind of the same way I do. He kind of saw that in my game, which is, you know, getting everybody else involved first and then, you know, trying to take over. But then he also said, you know, obviously in the big games, you know, he knew when to come out and be aggressive and stuff. So that was kind of cool, you know, just, hey, I play the same way you play. So it's just nice knowing that.
You said you don't get nervous playing. Mm-hmm. Were there nerves the first time you met Magic?
Well, we're all still human, so, you know, I'm not nervous. But, you know, like I said, one of the best players ever, a lot of respect for him, and seems like a great guy.
Any chance you'll work out for another team right now, or are you pretty much set with just going to the Lakers and hoping you end up getting drafted by the Lakers?
Yeah, right now I have no other workouts, but, you know, my agent plans all that out. So whatever happens in, you know, the next couple of weeks, that's what happens.
If you don't get drafted by the Lakers, what will be going through your head on draft night?
I still get to live out my dream in the NBA. So, you know, obviously my preference would be to go to LA, but whoever picks me, you know, I'm gonna have fun playing for them and just, you know, go there and bring the organization whenever I can.
All right, back here with Ryan Russillo. Let's say for the sake of argument, Ryan, that it works out for Lonzo Ball, the Lakers actually do draft him. But what's the likelihood that a backcourt of Lonzo Ball and LiAngelo Russell would be beneficial for the Lakers long term?
Well, if we're talking long term and what we're really trying to get to
Yeah.
here, competing for championships, I don't know if D'Angelo Russell's going to become that kind of guy. But D'Angelo can definitely play off of the ball. Now, he's always been looked at least when I remember him in Ohio State and what I've seen from him in the Lakers in these 2 years, is he's a bit of a playmaker. But Lonzo Ball is off the charts. Like, you would look at Russell and go, okay, we need you to improve the shooting, but don't worry about setting everybody else up because we have one of the all-timers. I'm not looking at Lonzo as advanced because I almost don't think that's giving him enough credit. It's beyond advanced. The way Lonzo sees the court is so special. When you talk to NBA teams, they are so enamored with this guy because he's just doing things that other people don't do. And I'm talking 10-year vets in this league. The way he sets up his teammates, the angles that he sees, the passes that he makes. This is a really special prospect, and I think it's almost getting overlooked because of the tournament and because of all the other stuff that's going on with his dad.
Yeah, you know, at some point during the regular season, a lot of people were saying, college basketball regular season, that he was like Jason Kidd at the same stage of his career, but with a jump shot, and that's scary because Jason Kidd, Hall of Fame point guard in the NBA. Let's talk big picture Lakers, because I mentioned the playoffs, and that's what Laker fans want really talk about. They only won 26 games last year. Third straight year they've had the #2 overall pick. Even if you get Ball, even if Russell works out off the ball, what else do they need, though, in LA to get back to those Showtime days?
Well, I mean, if we're asking that kind of question, we're talking about a guy that's not even on the roster. And I like Brandon Ingram a lot. I think he has the highest ceiling of any of their young players, but we don't know that. I mean, you're going to need a top 5 guy. So how are you getting a top 5 guy in there through the draft? As much as I love Lonzo and the fact that even this Russell question, Lonzo can play with anybody, all right? Everybody's going to be able to play around this kid. But is it a Paul George? Is it trading an Ingram for somebody else who's more established? I mean, a lot of times what happens is when you're a bad team and you start to get impatient, and maybe in a market like LA it can happen, that's when you can really screw up because you start drafting on need, you start projecting, okay, we need something in here. What you don't want to do is rush this. You don't want to rush it just because you're the Lakers and just because you're Magic and you're taking this over. So to ask me, hey, define the player, define the trade that's available, like that's an impossible thing to answer right now.
But they've got some guys that have to answer it at some point. Rob Pelinka, Magic Johnson being those two guys. Ron Russillo, thanks for hanging out with us. And I hear you have a radio show on ESPN Radio.
I do.
Is that right?
Today, yeah, Friday we're going to launch it.
1 o'clock Eastern? Something like that?
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
Even better.